Welcome to the Arts Workplace. This is a place for arts administrators to find practical knowledge, honest reflection, and real experience inside the work. Hello, I'm Amy. I've spent my entire career in arts administration, starting in the box office and working my way up to senior leadership. And I am creating this channel to share what I've learned with the arts and culture community. If you manage or work on a team that deals with patrons, members, donors, the general public, you probably know this problem. Your team has questions all day long. Some of those questions have answers that exist somewhere in a policy document, in an email from 6 months ago, in someone's head. But finding the right answer quickly, consistently, without pulling a manager away from what they're doing, that's a different challenge entirely. That was the problem I was trying to solve for our patron support team. And the solution I built ended up being one of the most useful things I've done in the last few years. What I did was build an internal AI chat agent that gives the team fast access to accurate information. It learns from its own mistakes, and it gets smarter every time someone tells it if it's wrong. In this video, I'm going to show you how it works and how I built it. And the cost is just $5 a month I pay for hosting on Railway, and the cost of my Claude subscription, Claude Code, which helped me build it. If you find this useful, please hit the like button. It helps other arts administrators like you find this content. So where this started, the tool actually didn't start with Claude. A while back in the fall, when I was first starting to explore AI tools, when ChatGPT was all the hype, I had this idea. I was very excited. I built an internal resource for the patron support team using custom GPTs in ChatGPT. We named it Pete, Patron Experience and Ticketing Expert. The idea was to give the team something they could ask operational questions and get accurate, fast answers rather than having to pull someone else away from whatever work they were doing. We connected this custom GPT to Notion documentation. We also added a list of relevant web resources like our own website, calendar links, other industry resources that were helpful. And then I built a set of instructions that it worked from. And I worked with ChatGPT. I chatted with ChatGPT to conceptualize and write out those instructions. And then I iterated on it many times. I don't want to make it sound like it was easy. It took a couple weeks to get it right. There was lots of back and forth and iteration. But in the end, Pete worked. The team used it. But there were real limitations that I had hoped we'd one day get around. It required team members to have ChatGPT accounts and sign in, whether that was their tool of choice or not. Some people didn't want to do that. You also had usage limits on free accounts. They didn't have paid accounts, and so they could only get so much use out of the tool. And then personally, I found the interface a little bit difficult to work with, the connecting of Notion. It doesn't work quite as seamlessly as, say, connectors in Claude do today. Which takes me to my next point. Since that time, especially in the last few months, I moved away from using ChatGPT in my own work. I am a Claude convert. Claude's ecosystem has matched better with how I actually build things, and it's masterful at coding. So I've really stopped using ChatGPT. I've moved on to Claude, and I'm in a place where I actually want to cancel my ChatGPT subscription, but I haven't been able to because the team is using this tool, Pete. So I decided it was time to rebuild Pete from scratch via the Claude platform, build a custom version that we own, and try to make it better in the process. So starting with the methodology. Same methodology as I talked about in my prior video with the website build, if you've seen that video. I started in Claude chat. Before I opened code, I had a conversation about what I wanted the new version to do and how I wanted it to be different from Pete. I shared with it the work I had done previously with ChatGPT, the instructions that ChatGPT was using for Pete, the sources I was using, all of the information I'd already collected. And what I wanted now was the same core capability, but hosted somewhere that I actually control, no sign-in required, that was monitorable by myself and the team, and is designed to improve with use over time. One of the biggest challenges with documentation is keeping it updated or ensuring that if you're using an AI chat tool, that it is providing the right responses to agents, and you can't be there to see that, and that custom GPT didn't give me that insight or that feedback. So this last piece was the new idea, not just a tool that answers questions, but a tool that gets better the more the team uses it, based on real feedback from the people who are using it every day. So that chat conversation produced a plan and a full set of build instructions that I could then just hand over to Claude Code. Okay, so now the build. The original Pete took a week or two of trial and error. The Claude rebuild took a morning, like 1 to 2 hours to have it up and running. In fairness, of course, I already had a model to work from. It would have taken me longer. But starting with a 0 with this methodology, I'd estimate less than a day, because I would have had to have all the instructions and planning done first and then gone into the build. But really just a few hours in a chat to define what you need and then the build itself. One thing to be clear about before you try to build something like this is you really need the documentation first. That's a really critical piece. The tool is only as good as the knowledge base it reads from. In Pete's case, that was Notion documentation that I had already been building for the patron support team over time. If you don't have documentation, that is a great place to start. As I'm thinking about it, I may make another video about how I went about building that knowledge base, because I really heavily utilized Notion AI to do that quickly with very low effort. Moving on, this is what the team sees. It's a clean chat interface, no account required, no sign-in, no friction to stop them from using the tool. They type a question, the tool searches the knowledge base and relevant resources and returns an answer. Very simple on the surface. What's underneath of it is where things get interesting. Beyond rebuilding what Pete could do, I added things that weren't possible in the ChatGPT environment. Every response has a thumbs up or thumbs down option, so agents can rate the answers they receive in the moment, which gives me data on where the gaps are. There's also a correct button, so if an agent receives a wrong answer, but they know the right answer, they can actually click the correct button and submit a correction directly. When that happens, when someone either hits the correct button or hits thumbs down, an automated process is triggered that gets logged as a task in Asana and assigned to our Director of Patron Support immediately to review. In addition, it takes another step. It will draft a new policy page in Notion for the manager to update and review as well, so you can quickly get the policy correction in place, so that the next time the question's asked, the chat agent serves the right answer. And then most exciting for me now, what I didn't have in the custom GPT previously, is there's an administration panel. So managers can see the volume, the common questions asked, the poor responses that were flagged, overall performance over time. None of that existed with Pete, and that's going to give us so much insight, not only into how the team is using it, but also into the customer service side of things, like where are people asking the most questions? Where is the team most confused? What are the points in the customer service process that we can improve and create more efficiencies? The part, of course, that I am most proud of is the automated feedback loop. When an agent gives a thumbs down, 2 things happen immediately and automatically. An Asana task is created and assigned to our Director of Patron Support, with me added as a collaborator on that task. It includes the original question and the flagged response, so the manager has full context. At the same time, a Notion article is drafted. The AI attempts to write the correct policy and provides recommended structure. The manager reviews it, makes corrections if needed, and changes the status of the Notion article from draft to confirmed. That confirmation automatically pushes the article into the live knowledge base, The loop closes and there are no more manual steps beyond the review. And what did we learn from that rollout? The original Pete was really well received, genuinely used, which I'm surprised. I thought maybe they wouldn't adopt it, but they did see the use, they did adopt it. There's something we learned during that rollout that's worth sharing. There is a real learning curve when it comes to helping a team understand what an AI tool like this can and can't do. Team members would ask Pete questions that no AI system could possibly answer. Not because Pete was broken, but because the information didn't exist anywhere it could access. Like internal decisions that hadn't been documented. An AI agent works with what it has access to. So that's a conversation worth having with your team before you roll anything out. And the cost and hosting of this custom tool for our team. I'm hosting it on Railway. It's a very straightforward cloud hosting platform. It doesn't require a technical background. Claude Code did all of the lifting, all of the publishing for me. It handled all of the work, so I really didn't have to do much other than create these accounts and grant it access. The hosting plan I'm using is $5 a month. I actually have several custom applications that I'm hosting on this plan. The Notion knowledge base connection is under a Notion subscription. You have lots of different sources there that you could use to build your knowledge base. To be a Word document, it would work just as well. I think I'm paying roughly $20 a month for my Notion plan. And then the Claude API usage varies by volume, but for a small internal team, it's really not a significant line item. It's perfectly covered under my current plan. I haven't seen any additional costs come from that connection. So if you compare that to the ChatGPT subscription I was paying, the usage limits that were creating a real friction and the fact that I had no ability to monitor or customize the environment, this costs less, does more, and I own it. So what's next? The next phase is replacing the Notion knowledge base with a custom knowledge base that I also host on Railway. So it's same environment as the tool itself. The goal would be one integrated system that the BSO owns and controls completely. No third-party dependencies for something this central to how the teams operate. I'll document that build when it happens. The problem this tool solves is not unique to the BSO. If you have a team that deals with the public, you have institutional knowledge that's hard to access consistently, or just issues with communication and the passing of information, which is common, that's the problem. The tool is just how I solved it. Same methodology as the website build. Chat first, get your thinking clear, build a brief, hand it to the right tool, direct it, test it, improve it. Does require some patience and some iteration. What you need is documentation, a clear problem that you're trying to solve, and willingness to iterate. If you want to see how I built the website and brand platform that this channel will be running on, that's the previous video. Subscribe if this was useful, drop a comment if you're working on something similar, and I will see you in the next one.